Kal Kadosh, Boker Or, Bekiim Halacha 5, day 64, page 169. Right? This is Halacha 2. Right? Who can wear Tefilin of Rabbeinu Tam? So this is for you. Listening? Who can wear Tefilin of Rabbeinu Tam? The Shulchan Aruch states that one should not wear Tefilin of Rabbeinu Tam unless one is well endowed with the fear of God, of Hashem, and enjoys a widespread reputation of being a devout individual. Otherwise, one who would be accused of haughtiness if one wears Rabbeinu Tam. Based on this, many pious Jews maintain that they would practice wearing tefillin of Rashi only, feeling that they were not worthy of wearing the Rabbeinu Tam. Nevertheless, in our time, it became the practice of wearing tefillin of Rabbeinu Tam. It became widespread, so both among people who study in Kolim and also amongst Baalei Batim, which are people that are, businessmen, laborers. Therefore, there's no longer a threat of being accused of haughtiness for observing this fine practice. Nowadays, everyone should care to fulfill the mitzvah of tefillin correctly by wearing 2 sets. Especially since we are now aware that a great number of poskim concurred with Rabbeinu Tam's opinion. In fact, there's a testimony that the Talmud Yerushalmi states clearly that the halacha is like Rabbeinu Tam. Okay, and taught. Anyone who ignores this places himself in danger of being guilty of ignoring the mitzvah of tefillin altogether. Powerful words over here. Yeah?
There is no gray zone with Amitabh, so it's
100%. You have it. So, okay, so this, by the way, was your question in 255, Eitan. Is it permissible to stop wearing tefillin Rabbeinu Tam? So the Piskei Teshuvot cited of Shimon Greenwald, ruling that if someone who has been wearing Rabbeinu Tam on a daily basis, following the tradition of his family and teachers, and now wishes to stop, so he may do so, he will need to apply for a Tarat Nedarim, and then he will be free of that obligation. Nevertheless, it is advisable to continue the commendable practice for the remainder of his life. The Piskei Teshuvot ruled that if someone was forced to stop wearing tefillin altogether, right, for an extended period of time, but he intends to resume fulfilling the mitzvah, when it becomes possible, he doesn't have to do a Tarat Nedarim. This is based upon the ruling of the Gur Mirva, and likewise the ruling of the Rishon LeZion. But that's a famous Rav Vadia. Basically, when do you have to do a Tarat Nedarim? Only if you wanted to stop the practice completely, but if you're force majeure one time, there's no problem. So for example, let's say a person always has a minhag that he fasts on the day of the yortzeit, the day of the nachala, the askara of his parent, right? And all of a sudden 1 year he can't. He's sick, so he doesn't have to do Tarat Nedarim. You're going to say, hey, but you have a minhag. Yeah, for sure, but he wants to continue it. So if he wants to continue the minhag, he doesn't have to do a Tarat Nedarim. Tarat Nedarim is if he wants to stop that minhag. So to stop a minhag, you have to do a Tarat Nedarim. But if it's going to be a one-off, right, or whatever it is, that you do not have to do Tarat Nedarim. So fine, the next one now. So we just finished with the concept of can you stop putting on the tefillin. What about unmarried men? So it says here, all this, notwithstanding young men who are not yet married should refrain from wearing tefillin of Rabbeinu Tam unless that they are sure that they can keep their thoughts pure for as long as they're wearing them. See Siman 38:8. Okay, so now you're married, yeah? Baruch Hashem. Next, halacha number 3. Yeah, both sets at the same time. It would be best to wear both sets, 2 sets of tefillin at the same time. One constructed the manner prescribed by Rashi, and another constructed the manner prescribed by Rabbeinu Tam. In that way, a person could recite the bracha, and it covers whichever one that it is, which be'emet is 100% genuine kosher. Furthermore, by wearing both sets, a person can be certain that he's wearing the kosher tefillin when he recites the Shema and Amidah. That is the most important time to be wearing the tefillin, since that is the moment of the person's daily proclamation that he's a subject to obey Hashem, whatever he may demand. The Gemara teaches that technically there is room on a person's head and arm to fit both sets of tefillin. This is true, however, only if 2 sets of tefillin are very small, with the total length of each bite, including its titura mabarta, being no more than 2 finger breadths, which is going to be 4 centimeters.
What if he's a midget?
1 minute.
What?
If 4 centimeters. If the length of both the bite of Rashi and that of Rabbeinu Tam totals no more than 8 centimeters, there is most likely room on the person's head, right, and arm to fit both of them properly. Regarding the tefillin shel yad, the proper place is to put on the bulge of the biceps, but only on the half of the upper arm closest to the elbow. Right, so he says if the length of the tefillin exceeds 8 centimeters, then in all likelihood at least one of them is going to protrude beyond the permitted area. If the bite of Rashi protrudes even slightly on the higher half of the upper arm, if the person does not fulfill the mitzvah, then he doesn't fulfill the mitzvah and is guilty of reciting Hechal Batala. The higher half of the arm, of the upper arm, is not the place where the tefillin should be worn, as explained above in Siman 27:2. This, thus, is attempt to fulfill the mitzvah in an ideal manner, right, is actually resulting that he's not doing the mitzvah at all. Therefore, anyone who has difficulty obtaining 2 sets of tefillin small enough to easily fit in the correct place should not attempt to wear both of them together. Instead, he should put them on Rashi by itself and then Rabbeinu Tam by itself, right, afterwards, right, he's going to put on the tefillin without saying a bracha and repeat the passages of Shema and Vayam Shemoah. In this way, he definitely will fulfill the obligation of all the poskim. Yes, 1 minute. Even if someone can obtain two tiny sets of tefillin that will fit on to the prescribed parts of his head and arm, it often happens that tefillin slip up or down while he's wearing them, and then he ceases to fulfill the mitzvah. What's more, the tiny tefillin requires tiny scrolls and tiny handwriting. And many more times it's difficult to find a scribe to write kosher scrolls for such tiny tefillin. Even if it succeeds, the scroll is susceptible to become damaged while being squeezed into tiny sized compartments. For all these reasons, it is recommendable to purchase two sets of regular sized tefillin, right? One at a time. Okay, let's speak about it. He says here, Yalkut Yosef in the bottom states that since it's difficult to procure a good kosher set of tefillin, one should wear tefillin one set at a time. In the second edition, however, it states anyone who finds it difficult to procure. The author understood that the circumstances had evolved over the years, and at this time, anyone could procure two sets of quality kosher tefillin small enough to be worn together. Therefore, he revised his ruling to apply in cases where the person is too difficult to procure the tefillin set. Only in such a case, should a person wear two tefillin, right? One at a time. If he's able to procure two tiny sets and wear them together in the proper manner, the Yalkut Yosef agreed that this is ideal, right, to fulfill the mitzvah, which means that you realize that even the Yalkut Yosef changed his mind. At the beginning, he was saying, no, because basically you can't. Nowadays, you can actually find it. Yeah? During, oh, Nila. Yeah? During his lifetime, Maran the Rishon Letzion consistently ruled that people should not wear both sets at the same time, since it's likely the one of them will be in position incorrectly. Indeed, he personally wore his two sets one at a time. This needs explanation. In our generation, there are scribes who specialize in writing small tefillin, and their products are kosher and top quality by every measure. The parchment they use is specially made for this purpose. It is very thin, but free of holes and durable. Right? Likewise, the batim are available that are so small that almost no one ever would have a problem wearing both of them. Nevertheless, he never changed his tone. He continued to insist that people wear two sets. It's likely because he understood that he served as an example who the entire nation wished to emulate. Not only rabbis and Talmudic students followed his rulings and practices, but everyone, so including many who were simple, honest working people. So if he would adopt the practice of wearing two tefillin, thousands of people would have done the same. And then the Rishon LeZion feared that people would wear two sets even though they did not know how to position them. Since he felt responsible for this, he adopted the practice of always wearing two, meaning separate. So the truth is, not everyone can fit sets of tefillin on his hand and his arm, even if he does buy two sets. When people ask their shiva, that have been Tzion Shaul, whether they should adopt the practice of wearing tefillin at the same time, he would roll up their sleeves and examine their arms. Often he would determine that the person's biceps muscle is too small to fit two batim at one time in the proper position, thus demonstrating that being correct to issue a ruling that anyone who wishes to fulfill the mitzvah can do so. To remain on the safe side, the Rishon invariably advised people to wear two sets, one after another. So it's something incredible. I mean, basically, you would measure the arm and see, can you actually wear two sets